Good evening. We have Mr. Josef Umenberger, General Manager Headquarters, Myco Dream Hotels and Resorts from Phuket, Thailand. Let's welcome him.
Namaste.
Namaste. Very nice to see you after almost 12 years, Mr. Joseph.
Yes.
How are you?
Good. I'm doing fine. Thank you very much. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
asking. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. This session is going to be of three segments. The first segment would focus on who is Mr. Josef Umenberger, where is he from, where was he born, where did he do his schooling, how did he start his career, and how did he become general manager now? What is the journey? The second,
okay.
The second would be more on. The second would be more on the industry which he's working in, the one which you're working in. What was the scenario before, and what is the scenario with this COVID? Those areas will be touched. And then the third segment would be a surprise segment. So we'll start with the first segment, which is who is Mr. who is Mr. Joseph? Where was he born?
Well, I was born in Austria, in the province of Upper Austria, which is bordering to Germany and in those days Czechoslovakia.
Okay.
In the year 1966.
Okay.
In a town called Grieskirchen, for sure, 100 people, everybody will forget about it. And I was born into a family which was 4 generations in the farming. So but farming was for me something where when I was a little boy, it becomes a little bit boring, and I always looked out because we have a beautiful view from our parents' home. And I always looked outside to see a little bit, as we say, over the edge of the plate, and wanted to know what is behind there. So school, I went to the very classical school education with the grammar school 4 years, then the secondary with another 4 years, and then we have in Austria the 9th year, which is called the Polytechnicum, and this is more for preparation yourself, if you don't go to higher school education, high school, so to speak of, for your ongoing journey in the professional life. There you have some small little sniffing apprenticeships, so you can try out if you like this job or not this job, or what you want to be. Because the days I grew up, it was like, you have an apprenticeship in one profession, and then that's it. So you start with this one and you retire with this one. Of course, during the years, many things have changed, as we know now. And I always can remember, what I got back from these days is that as to be humble, have a simple life, don't accelerate with too many things too much. And this has given me a lot of basics for my career when I started as a chef, because I always wanted to see the world. And, the only way to see the world was when you're a chef, you work on a cruise line, which I also did in that thing later on, or early in my career, actually. So I was actually quite fast in that one. So to speak of, in Austria, when you mid 15, I started an apprenticeship as a chef, and we have the dual system in Austria. This still is applicable today, where you have 2 months of the year you go to your vocational school. So in mine, thing was for hospitality and culinary arts. And this is where we get to teach the basics, meaning all the classical things of the Escoffier cuisine, what is predominantly known in the world as the French cuisine. So, and this is where I'm coming from. And there is the stepstone was laid to go afterwards internationally to try out my success or my luck. Well, I can remember there's a few things we had in the school, 1 or 2 you cannot call professors or teachers which actually had an international experience working. In those days, many went to the United States because that was the most sought after country, where the knowledge of the hospitality of the European countries, speaking Switzerland, Austria, Germany, France, of course, was mostly welcome. And then there was another gentleman. He was long time in South Africa, because South Africa was also, in those days, they had no basic in the hospitality. And they've been like sent them, they've been going there and worked in this upcoming industry in South Africa. Then we had one gentleman. He had already a stint in the early days of Hong Kong, so which was also very exciting. So, and then there was another one which had been working in very reputable hotels in Germany, in Hamburg as well. He was working for some embassies as the chef. He was working for the let me recall it. I think he was working for the French embassy in United States, if I brought this together, and then also somewhere in South America. So he told us all details, how it is, and lived there and worked there. So this always was inspiring me, and to go search for the same adventures, so to speak of. Now, the early culinary days on my side, well, was, basics. Simply the basics, meaning to keep your place clean, hygiene, learning all the cutting techniques, learning the basic cooking techniques. Also, the hotel where I had my apprenticeship was like a hotel where we had a very, very long summer season. So meaning it started before Easter, and it's not finished before end of October. So that means we've been constantly busy, and we had, I remember one day, which is the Mother's Day, and this is one of the busiest days, especially in Europe and Austria. I tried to recall the year, I think it was 1984. We did for lunch 1,200 guests. And this one I have never topped in my life. So also in those days, many of the tourists, there was not, flying was in those days something which was still, a novelty and very expensive for regular individuals. There was a lot of coach business coming from Germany, from Netherlands, from Belgium, and we had always a very high number of guests from the from United Kingdom. So, and also there also a lot of buses which come just for lunch or for dinner, and also one day I remember this was one of my colleagues' birthdays. It was the 14th of August. But this year, I cannot, I think it was 1983 as well. We had around over lunch 25, 50-seaters coaches for lunchtime. So you can imagine with what kind of volume what we're going through. And there was not really a lot going to waste because, as I said, the Mother's Day, the day after the vegetable supplier was coming in, we literally ransacked his truck, I mean, he opened the door and we said, get out of here, and you just write down whatever we take down, because we had nothing anymore in our fridges. Everything was literally sold. I mean, it was not thrown away, no nothing. And this is where we learned, what is now coming back again, to be respectful to the food what you using, with what you buying, and honor that one, which was more or less, especially in Europe, not only in Europe, also I have seen this in Asia coming up, where to throw something away, this is something considered not very good, because you destroy somebody's hard work before it comes to you, and you did make something nice out of it. Now, the apprenticeship in Europe goes as in Austria, also Austria, Germany, Switzerland. They have the same scheme. It goes duration of 3 years. Then you do an examination, which is in two parts. Is it separated? One is the technical, where you cook three or four course menu, which is like a lottery. You go there and you pick your thing, and then afterwards you need to do your recipes. You need to create your shopping list. Then afterwards you need to also request all your tools, what you need to do, and then afterwards you have 5 hours, I think 5 hours time to bring the menu to the table and in front of the judges. And then afterwards they observe you during the whole process. How do you do, how you keep, again, back to the basics, how you keep your place clean, how organized you work, how much you waste, and you do everything correctly prepared, where you have been taught in the vocational school and in your hotel where you worked. And then they do also always a testing in between, this. And then you have a verbal examination where you go after food science, then I believe also there was labor law, and then I think there was regular education, regular basic education also will be asked there. And then afterwards, when you pass that one, then you get the certification, and then afterwards you're more or less free to choose your own destiny, so to speak of. Okay. But it doesn't mean after 3 years of education, apprenticeship, you know everything. I mean, you only start with the real education after you finished your apprenticeship. I also thought I have done everything, and then afterwards I've been taught very fast that this is not the way it is. So, and then, I finished my certification in June. So I finished by end of September, and then I started my first other job, which was a restaurant in Wales. This is the second largest city there. And then afterwards, after a few months, I started to work in restaurants in Tyrol area to the winter season. So that's in Austria in those days is like, summer season, you work for 4 or 5 months, and then, but you work very hard. Sometimes in those days is not even in those days was also not allowed, but sometimes you work without days off, and then afterwards, that's why you get higher paid. And then because you're in desperate need of money anyway all the time when you're younger. And then you go winter season, where it's actually the pay is much higher. So, and you have many people, they're still doing it until today. So they have the cycle summer season, winter season. Well, of course, then I had to do my diligence to serve my country, Austria. So that's meaning you have the obligation as a male, now also female can join voluntarily for the Austrian army. So in those days you had 2 choices. Either you have 8 months, which I was lucky to do, and the other thing is 6 months, and then afterwards every few years you get called in for 2-3 weeks for reserve duties and trainings. And this goes until you are up to 35 years of age. You can be called back for the emergency force. Like now during the Corona epidemic in Austria, this was the first time they called in the history of the Austrian army since 1955, the reserve to support in certain fields in public life. So this doesn't mean it was written somewhere on a paper. So they really did it. This was the first time, as I said, since 1955. After that, I was going on working in in Austria again. And then I had the opportunity. I had an executive chef, which was from Germany, and he was coming from a cruise line, and he was actually telling me all the good and bad things. Mostly he told me the bad things about the cruise ship, but I was not afraid of it. I said, okay, I take it, you know. If not, you never know when you don't try it.
Right.
But first he helped me to get a job with Umenberger in Switzerland, which was actually the first stepping stone outside of Austria to work. And they had they had like a program where you can work for 1 year a visa, because Switzerland was in those days already very stringent with working permits. So that means you have 1 year, and then if you want to continue to work in Switzerland, you had to get out for 3 months, and then you do like a 9-3 cycle, coming in, coming out, and you can repeat this 4 times, and then you get a higher classification. Then you can stay permanently in Switzerland. So that was not my goal. It was not my desire. So, and at the same time, in Switzerland in those days, they had already all of these agents, which are, you know, can help you to get your jobs on the cruise line, which in Austria in those days was still illegal. And so I went to this gentleman there, and because one of my colleagues, he was working on the Queen QB2, and he was coming back, and he said, "Oh, I was on the QB2." I said, "Huh? How was it?" Well, he told me, and then afterwards I said, "Okay, so where did you get this job?" You know. So I went to the office, and I thought, you know, my English is very good. And then he sit me down and he talked to me in English, and I was like, blur. And then he said to me, "Okay, my friend, I believe you need to go first to the Channel Islands to work a summer season there, that you learn English." I'm glad I didn't do it, because this was full. Channel Island is full with Austrians, Swiss, Germans, which are working there for the summer season. And none of them learned any English, because they all speak German with them to get anyway. So I was glad not to do it. So, and then when I finished my contract with the Umenberger, one day he called me up and says, "Can you be day after tomorrow in Hong Kong?" I was like, "Huh?" I said, "Theoretically, yes. I mean, I had a passport and everything." No, sorry, not Hong Kong. Sydney, Australia. I said, "Theoretically, yes. Now I need a visa. I cannot just go there, because I need to apply for the visa, you know, the tourist visa, whatever visa." "Oh, I forgot about it. The Swiss have it easier. We can go directly there. We don't need to apply for a visa." "Okay, I call you back." So he called me back about 4 hours later, and then he called me, "Can you be in 2 days in Hong Kong?" I said, "This is possible." And yeah, and 2 days later, I was on the airplane to Hong Kong. And he said to me, "Don't worry, there comes a gentleman with you. I was 22 in those days. He is much older than you, and he also speaks better English than you." Because I asked him, "So what is about my English?" He said, "Don't forget about it. You will learn it." Okay, I said, "Okay. You have confidence in me, so I have to have confidence in myself as well." So then he was coming from Graz, which is the second largest capital of the second largest city in Austria. So he was flying in from Graz to Frankfurt. I was flying from Linz, our capital, to Frankfurt. So we meet at the airport in Frankfurt. Okay. He was about 10, 12 years older than me. So he had a little bit rough of family history. So this is another story. So then afterwards, so we boarded the plane to Copenhagen. So we arrived in Copenhagen. Of course, there's no announcement in German anymore. Everything is either in Danish or in English. So there was an announcement about our flight. We both been standing there if we understood everything, but actually we didn't understood nothing. So I asked him, "What did he say?" "I don't know." You know. So well, but finally we made it to Hong Kong. So this is where my journey started with the cruise lines. So which I was then afterwards almost 2 years. I was there. So 3 contracts, which took me over Southeast Asia. I've been Taiwan, China. In those days, real China, not the China from today. I mean, I've been in I've been in Shanghai when Pudong was not even there. So I've been also not back since then. So, but everybody tells me that you would not recognize it. I've been to. So we went from there. We went to over to San Francisco. We've been Hawaii, San Francisco, and then we went down to Mexico through the Panama channels, Caribbean, and then back to Europe. So then up to the Nordic countries. I was also in this time in Leningrad, when what is today St. Petersburg, when it was really Russia. So, and my position there, I mean, I have to say, from a professional perspective, that was more or less what I remember, one of the most professional teams I ever worked in, because everybody was young, enthusiastic, and had very good culinary technical background. And that was, a lot of things I learned there, and it was fun. Yes, there was also times, the fun part was, there was ongoing parties. You could not imagine that one. But this was very professional, very professional. So, I mean, yes, you have a few which sometimes getting a little bit excited and do some stupid things. But from the professional part, it was one of the most exciting times. So after that, I went back to Austria and I did my hotelier license degree. So this is the degree that you are certified to open a hotel, restaurant. So you can open from a little snack stand up to a 5-star hotel you can open. So I did this one. So I stayed back in Austria for 1.5 years, which also you go in a school and then you do an examination, which is one in writing and then is in verbal. I also be the trainer for apprentices. So this, if you open your own business, you need to have that one. Otherwise, you cannot train apprentices. So I did this one, and in the meantime, I was working in a hotel in Salzburg, and the owners wanted. I was already sous chef in those days, and he wanted to give me for the next year season. He wanted to give me the position of executive chef, and then I said, "This honors me very much, but actually, I plan to go to the United States." So I said, "Do you have already a job in the States?" And I said, "No, I'm still." Because I really wanted to try it. I had some connections over there to the States, but not really something which is put into on a piece of paper. So he said, "Oh, we have a relationship with one of the regional food and beverage directors of Marriott in Boston." And they said, "Give me your CV." We send it to him, and then afterwards you can follow up with him directly. So I did my CV. I give it to them. They send it to him, and I received a call and said, "Okay, you have an interview." And this is this EAPT program. For sure, you're aware of that one, Harry.
Yes, J1.
J1 visa, which allows you to stay.
J1 visa. Yeah.
Yes, which allows you to stay in the United States for 1.5 years. I was in Florida.
Correct.
Yeah, I was in Florida. I went to a hurricane, so I also enjoyed a little bit my life over down there. And then my career continued. My chef, who actually hired me, went on to Warsaw. It was in those days the largest Marriott hotel in Europe. So he got promoted literally. And then he wanted to get me to one of the hotels of Marriott. He tried to help me. Actually, my first choice supposed to be Amsterdam. No, the first choice supposed to be Warsaw. And Warsaw didn't work out because in those days already they had a very strict instructions that they will give back the jobs two local Polish talents, which I fully understand, because they started, I mean, after the fall of the communism, they started off, and then they needed to create, and if you look now where they stand today, it was the right decision to do. So then afterwards, the second was Amsterdam. Amsterdam also fall through, and then I was hired for the Marriott Frankfurt as a junior sous chef, which I stayed over 2 years, and then while I was in charge of the banquet, a la carte, and whatever. It was the largest in those days. No, yes, the largest convention hotel in Frankfurt, with 588 rooms and banquet capacity sit down 1,500. This was the largest what we did. We did also various cultural diverse cuisines in those days. That's why I'm always saying, you should, as a chef, you should always explore whatever you can learn. I mean, we had the Jewish weddings, we had bar mitzvahs, which is a field by its own. Then we had concert and wedding from Iranian communities, Turkish communities.
Okay.
We had also Mexican community. We had what was the other one? Greek. So I mean everything. I mean I recall one day. Yes, we had one day, and it was not the busiest, but this was I think the most diverse, where we had five different nationalities events in one evening. And that's, I remember we had Greek, we had Spanish, and then what was the other one? The other one was Turkish. So it was, like still mind-boggling until today. How did we do it? But we made it all happen, and that was our strength in these facilities, because in those days we've been very flexible on the market. So that means it's also something you need to do. Later on, there was coming into the hotel a Japanese restaurant, so we always sneaked over there to see how to do the sushi. I didn't learn it there a little, not too much, but I at least I knew how to get the taste, because they had hired 2 Japanese chefs, and that was unique in those days, because Japanese chefs are not easy to get out of Japan. And then when you get it, they're having a high salary, and not everybody can really afford that one. So, and then the general manager was transferred to Mexico City. So, and his farewell party, he was coming up to me, and I was coming up to him and said, I wish you all the best, and thank you very much for to be a good leader and so far and so on. He said, don't worry, I'm coming back for a few more days. I need to talk to you. I said, huh? GM wants to talk to me, Okay. So, and then he said, I will be back in 2 weeks. Okay, fine. I mean, GM want to talk to me, that's okay. So, and I had on a Monday, Tuesday, I never forget that one, my executive chef called me, because I was in charge of the entire payroll. He said, Joseph, can you come in and finish off the payroll? In those days, without computer, Harry, yeah? We did everything without computer. This was everything still in pen and pencil and eraser and stuff like this. Not like today in Excel sheet or software. So it was another times. So I come in, and then I went to the laundry, because I dropped off some of my laundry, or picked up laundry. I cannot recall it anymore. So the general manager stands there. Oh, you're back? I said, but you're not working, right? I said, well, I'm coming back on Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday, I see you in my office. Don't try to escape. Okay. What's going on? Okay. So on Wednesday, we had every day was the morning briefing around 9:30 in the morning. So normally he was always attending. So I was like, He's scared. So what's happened with me? What he wants to do with me. So he was not there. I was happy. I said, so, but he will find me anyway. So, I literally procrastinated the situation a little bit, which I suppose should have not done it. So then I had to go to the executive office for another reason. He sees me, you don't go, he said, you stay here now. He took me in the office. He said, okay, how long you are here? I said, 2.5 years, something like this. Okay. What is your salary? I told him my salary. Actually, I should talk to you now, he said, but I want to take you to Mexico as an executive sous chef. So this is the way I said, sir, I don't speak Spanish. I said, don't worry, we find you a Spanish speaking below. I said, okay, I'm in. So I'm in. So Mexico was never really on my list. To say that one, it was one of the best experience I made in my life, because there's so many preoccupation about Mexico, about Mexican people, but I found them one of the warmest, genuine, and I can say also hardworking people in the world. Yeah, whoever says the lazy Mexicans, please, for me, was not there. You always have somebody who is a little bit lazy, right? This has happened, but in general, I tell you, it was one of the most hardworking team I ever experienced in my life. I can say this with my hand on the heart, I tell you. So, and then afterwards, I was there for 2 years, which was very exciting. The hotel was running over 95% occupancy the year around, in the first year already. Also was a tremendous experience, so to speak of. Food and beverage wise, we've been very strong in weddings and events. So weddings, mostly everything is plated. This is not here just like a buffet and then you disappear. No, it's very hands-on and very very sophisticated to work, high quality standards. So this is Mexico is very, very quality oriented. Because for many of them, they have really saved a lot of money for this to be happening in a 5-star hotel. And this is not something which you should disappoint the guest at all. So and after that, I was going back to Germany with the Renaissance, because in those days, it was 1998 and 1997, Marriott bought the Renaissance chain and the New World chain in those days. So I was put into a Renaissance hotel to bring in the Marriott standards with all of the food safety standards and all the other standards which was applicable for the company, because I was trained with them now for over 5 years, so they saw me with the right candidate. When you come back to their own country, it's always a little bit different, and I also have experienced that one. So then I was transferred to another hotel in Germany, which is the Courtyard, outside of east of Berlin. And then I said, personally, Europe was becoming too small for me. So then I had a opportunity to go to Azerbaijan. So many people have never heard about Azerbaijan in those days. Not even me have heard about Azerbaijan. And I said, okay, let's look on that one. It was for Hyatt, and this was shortly after. No, well, it was already in the second phase of the collapse of the former Soviet Union, and then all states got independent. And then Azerbaijan is known as today one of the most oil-rich countries in the Caucasus and the Caspian Sea. So what is Azerbaijan stands for is oil and caviar, so to speak of. So this was always the thing. A beautiful country, natural, very nice. In those days, very, very hard to work because you had very limited resources of supplies. This is where I learned a lot of finding sources from overseas. Either we drove it in with the trucks, or we flew it in by airplane, either from Dubai or from Germany. So, and of course, you need to be very, very careful with your calculations, because, you know, air freight and land freight. Land freight is okay, but air freight is actually a high cost factor, which you need to filter into the pricing. And also, you need to plan ahead. I mean, we had here sometimes shortages. I mean, you could not even get vinegar. You know, you could not find vinegar. All of a sudden, wasn't there. But you found the newest Nokia phone. No problems at all. But to find the bottle of vinegar was not available. So, or whipped cream. One day there was no more whipped cream. So we had in the storage, if you can imagine that one, in those days, it was in 2001, we had one refrigerator only for whipped cream. Yeah? And the storage was worth, the inventory, over $35,000. So that means that we can plan ahead to keep our standards. We could not go just to the shop, you know, like you do in many places. You just buy a liter or two, and then until this delivery is coming tomorrow. This was not possible. No possible. So you had literally planning ahead to the details, and especially there is around June, July, if I'm not mistaken, there was always the big oil fair, and there was another oil and gas show, and there was another one. And this is where the entire city was full, all the hotels. And Hyatt was next to the Radisson Hotel, was the only international hotel there. Now you have everybody there, from Four Seasons to JW Marriott to several Marriotts. Kempinski is there. Accor is there now today. So this was really the baby shoes of the hospitality and not hospitality, the hotel industry in Azerbaijan. So I was a part of it, and it's quite a great experience, so to speak of. And then afterwards, I went to the next funny dilemma was in Caracas, Venezuela. So I saw the political unrest starting, which has not finished until today. I opened there as well a Marriott hotel. And also a beautiful country, but unfortunately due to the political unrest, what is still unfolding until today, and is not solved, the challenges with the government, so to speak of. It's sad to say. And then I was going to Dubai, which also was in those days the time where Dubai was 2003. This is where many people tell you this was the most livable time in Dubai, so to speak of. Then I went to Shangri-La in Manila. So also one that was the largest hotel in those days, the Makati Shangri-La, with over 700 rooms. And then, back to the Middle East, to Kuwait, which was another culture shock, so to speak. And another project which was unique. I mean, Dr. Ari, you know very well how it was. It was like a unique experience. Concept to provide 5-star hospitality service in a hospital, which was made for mother and children, correct?
Mother and child. Yes.
Yes, but that was the prime core focus of the things. And afterwards, I was going to Bahrain, which was also one of the highlights, I would say, because the hotel was a magnificent product from Banyan Tree, which was a villa product, which also was for me the first one, how to because it works different than a block hotel, so to speak, in the desert. And from there, I was already as executive chef, and Kuwait as well as executive chef, and then going to Indonesia to heading up an area as an area executive chef for Banyan Tree, which was the Angsana, the Banyan Tree, and the Laguna Golf Club.
Okay.
Which was diverse, predominantly Singaporean guests, as well caterings, events, a golf course, so to speak of. And this is where I started to become a little bit itchy to also start to see beyond the responsibilities as an executive chef. I did also some online trainings in those days already. And at the same time, I worked for the corporate office for design of concepts and kitchen equipment. I was involved in pre-opening assignments of some of the layouts in the kitchens. I did a few of them. And then I did independent as a consultant, which was in those days quite good, I have to say. I did this for 4 years, and then I went back to Bahrain to work for the Interconti. And then one of my former colleagues from Banyan Tree called me up and said, "Hey, I have something for you. For sure, you're interesting. I know you want to go into that field. It's like chef MB, so it's half chef, half F&B director." So I went to Jakarta, where my family is, my wife is coming from, and this was those days the largest hotel in Jakarta with over 700. Originally with over 1,000 rooms, 1,100 rooms, and then there was something happen, and then there was only 700 rooms, but facilities, weddings, huge weddings. So it was the first time I also stepped into the experience as an F&B director. Then I went back to Bintan as an F&B director. From there, I was going to the Seychelles, remote area in a 5-star deluxe property with 103 rooms. And there I learned very quick that I need to be more versatile than that, because the managing director left, and then all of a sudden I've been told, after 1 week of being on the island, you're in charge of the entire island. And I was like, okay. And it took exactly 5 minutes after this was announced, the first person, which was the director of sales, was already sitting next to me and said to me, "Can we talk about the rate structure and this and that?" And I was like, "Sorry, can you give me another coffee first, that I understand what you actually tell me?" I mean, I heard about that things. Yeah, I mean, that was not new to me, but to be all of a sudden responsible. So I had very supportive to me, and he was already 13 years in the Maldives, and he showed me around what to do, and that's why he always gave me additional responsibilities to the job of EAM F&B. And then one day he called me up. He said to me, "Joseph, get out of the operation. You do now all the concepts, reconceptualizing all of the F&B outlets." So thereby, afterwards, I started working on a project which was the beach club, which we worked with international DJs and bespoke wine menu, bespoke Mediterranean tapas menu, so to speak of. The other restaurant was, that's where I had the opportunity as well. I think you don't even know it. I had the opportunity to visit India, because the other restaurant, yes, a contemporary Indian restaurant, which we looked a little bit on concepts from the UK. There was a concept in those days, most probably, I don't know if you've heard about, called, I believe, White Orchid. It was run from an Indian chef in those days. So I had the opportunity to visit Mumbai. So I had a very good host. So he showed me around with all of the restaurants, what is there. I mean, we went to the Oberoi, we went to some of the seafood restaurants, we went to you name it. Actually, he tried also to get to to hopefully pronounce it right, Lucknow, and then but I had no time
Lucknow.
anymore. Lucknow, so he arranged for me in one of the Lucknow restaurants to have an authentic meal there. So 5 days or 6 days I was in India and I was only eating, but I also had the opportunity to eat, and I'm still craving for that one today, is dali from Gujarati cuisine, and this one is still in my memory until
Okay.
that was really a super experience. And then we went to New Delhi, and we went there to we went to the Taj, we went to Kurgaon, correct? We went also there.
Gurgaon.
Yes, we visited there also the Oberoi, and this is very famous for Kerala cuisine, West Coastal cuisine, if I'm not mistaken. And then I also had the opportunity to be at, for sure it will tell you something, Accent of India. So I had also the opportunity to have dinner there. Actually, we stayed in this hotel where it is located. So yeah, and then the other restaurants, one was like a grill with a wine cellar where we had around storage. This was planned for around 3,500 bottles of. One was purely, I think this was 2,200 bottles champagne and white wines, and the other one was red wine, which was the other 1,000 something bottles or labels. I cannot recall it anymore. So from there afterwards, I went back to Indonesia because then I opened another hotel there for in Bogor, outside in the golf course, as a chef. I stepped back one more time. So, and then I've had a contract which was 1 year, which I finished. And then after that, I was doing second run of consulting. In those days was a little bit totally different already. So the business climate was totally different. Yes, I did some few small stints with some renowned cruise lines. I had to do something special for the German market. And then I was called up one day, said, "Hey, do you know a general manager?" And I said, I don't have anybody now in mind. So I said, I know this gentleman very well from our Banyan Tree times. I said, well, how about myself, And then he said to me, "Oh, that's a good idea. Send me a CV." So, and a few days later, so I had the job in my pocket, and I come in here to Phuket. And actually not Phuket, this is across the mainland, which is the Bang Na region. I was blessed to lead up a hotel which is 106 homes and beach houses. And yeah, so this was sold from the owners, and now I'm looking after the projects of the head office from the owners, meaning for future developments and other related with property and real estate and so on in behalf of the owners. So this is
what strategies do you
yes, go ahead.
No, the question is, sorry, what strategies do you have in place as of now with this COVID scenario when you're looking at coming up with new properties? What are the areas you would focus on to ensure that you are going at, because this scenario is something unprecedented?
Now this is clear. I mean, here in Phuket, you can see many. Actually, I was surprised how many properties are up for sale at the moment. And this is going, this is going through all level of classification. It starts with a normal guest house from 10 rooms up to 5-star hotels. So there's everything there. Restaurants. And even whole chains of restaurants, because I started to investigate on this one a little bit more. So
Uh,
there is at the moment Phuket is very hard hit with this coronavirus, and I will explain it as why. The thing is, Phuket airport was closed for 6 weeks, so
Correct.
either local or internationally, there's still nothing yet can come in, except if you have certain criteria fulfilled, meaning either you are an expat which is married with a Thai, or you have a special work permit, or you need to start a special assigned job with the government, or so far, and it's all approved, so then you can come in. Now, actually, they've been thinking about to open up with a travel bubble, but this is not happening. Now, who is benefiting from this one at the moment is the areas which is around 2 to 3 hours drive from Bangkok, which is Hua Hin and which is as well Pattaya. They on the weekends already have a high occupancy. I mean, I talked to one of my colleagues here from one of the named operators, and they said in Hua Hin they had 3 weeks ago already 95% occupancy on the weekends, not during the week, but during the weekends, because people want to get out. Now, Bangkok is from us 12 hours or 15 hours drive away. Yeah? And there was also the time you had to go to quarantine. Now they have lifted that one. So long the island of Phuket has no direct flights from overseas coming in or connecting flights where expats, international guests can come in, it will be very dull in this area. So that's why, yes, we are allowed to open up our resource. Now, a few open up, and a few already talking behind, like this, if we don't making so much on occupancy, we will shut it down again. Because, you need to make somewhere your ROI, you need to make your break-even point, and if it doesn't work, if the owners agree to cover all the costs, then the negative cash flow, then it's not, then you can sleep better. But if there's not, and you need to sustain and you need to go with the budget. Yes, of course, everybody has done the budget 4 or 5 times, 100%, not even more reforecasting and all what is required in the situation. Now, the strategy for the development to come this one is that one. Now, looking for something which is not too, I'm not saying cost intensive, not going after the 5-star market at the moment. So better look for something, especially in property and this one, in guest houses, apartments, condominium not, because condominium is a hot market, is unbelievable hot market. And they have, because we also with some real estate agents, we are in contact, and they all say condominium at the moment not advisable to invest in that one. So mostly now what we are looking for is that one. The other one is land. This is always keeps the value. The value of the land has gone down. I cannot know exactly how many percentage because I don't have the number in my head, but has gone down. But this depends on the area, because Phuket also is, like everywhere in the world, you're south of the river, then is more valuable than north of the river, where is less. So this has to do with infrastructure and stuff like this. So there's a lot of movement coming up, and a lot of properties up for sale. They have actually put it up into for sale. Either is it just to now make, or downsizing is also mostly happening. You have seen that one where chain restaurants, they have now restaurant groups, they have maybe 5 or 6 outlets. They have maximum open 2, and the second one is only open for a limited time period. One is where they're concentrating at the moment to fulfill the business, because Phuket, as I said, is predominantly from international travelers occupied. Even now is low season, is normally the lowest season of the year, but still many people many business owners have kept the business open over the entire year, and now they decide either not to open or to open just limited or close it totally. So that's
Okay.
the realistic thing now.
Okay. See, how are we planning in terms of in this COVID scenario to bring about the business?
Yes.
Like, because as you said, like the tourism has reduced because of the access to flights. And how are we planning to make up with that? Okay, one size downsizing is happening. We are taking care of the denominator, but for the sales part, for the numerator, are there any new techniques used to, because this is completely tourist driven economy, and when there's no tourists, how are we going to manage?
Well, there is some initiatives here on the local market with web pages where that's also distributed to international. Well, not this is during the Thai tourism board. Is it distributed to the international offices, TAT?
Okay.
And they're having like Phuket is called Phuket Deal All, and there's right now, for example, 118 hotels are listed there, which offer their special packages. I mean, this goes from up to, there's one I seen yesterday. They have promotion going on for the next 365 days for the entire year. Okay. Of course, placard stays inside there, but this is way how they want to bring back with attractive inclusions back the guests. I mean, there's one I just recall now. They have like, okay, you stay a net rate in the room rate, and then afterwards you have included 2 sessions of spa, and then if you have additional, it's like 30% off food and beverage. You have a daily lunch, which is 1 plate with one drink. I cannot remember, it was alcohol, but now without alcohol, and then a dinner, 2-course dinner. And if you add up, if you order an entire a la carte, then afterwards you get a 25 or 30% discount. So there's totally different. Then there's some international branded hotels which are doing actually this one on a flash sale basis. Then, as I said, some of them, there's even one very attractive there. So you pay for the room nothing, but you need to spend a certain amount in the restaurants of the
a la carte, is it?
No, of the businesses, because they have several restaurant outlets, which is in the hotels and which is outside. They have one very famous beach club here they run, and they have actually the second one now. They just opened last year. So if you stay in the hotel, the room is for free, and then you only need to minimum consumption in the restaurants.
Okay.
So there's different scenarios what they're doing. Now the hotel, the ones which I'm working for the owners, they're all managed by an operator, Thai operator, which of course they have their own
strategies.
The strategy at the moment is that one. We have one 5-star villa product, and we have one 4-star 140 room hotel. The other one is 22 villas. So there's still they had some occupancy. They had some bookings for the month of July, which after it was only 1% occupancy. So if you're good off when you're in a network, and this is a network, so they handed it over with further goodies to the other hotels which are in the area. So so far I've been informed, as of today, as of now, it was very much welcome from the guests. It was local Thai guests. So which it is. So this is the benefit if you are in a chain, because if you really don't see that it makes a common business sense to open the hotel, So you can hand it over to another hotel which has already a higher occupancy, so to come up, so to speak. At the moment, the hotels looks like we will not be fully operational, open up before October. So this is the latest what I have. Many hotels are in the same strategy. So some, as I told you before, the one who opens up the room for free, literally, they open up only just a small number of the inventory. So first of all, to get the other rooms up to speak and span shape, and then to bring at least 15 rooms. There's 15 rooms out of 100, I believe, they have now in the inventory. And I talked to the hotel manager there, and he says, how successful you are. I said, well, we have some, but he didn't mention a number, how much they have at the moment. I mean, it's a quite an interesting play. You don't pay for the room, but you need to consume. So, which is, I mean, they're all in, as I said, 3 of the outlets are more or less in a shuttle bus distance, so you can go there every day. And there's the other one is on a little bit on the other side of the island, which also they have a shuttle bus there. So it's worth a try.
One thing, what are the possibilities from here? Where do we go? See, this corona, they have made it very clear that it's going to be at least till 2024. Ups and downs, we're going to have peaks and valleys, or we're going to have fish fin kind of economy. It's not going to be too deep or too peak or too valley. It might go up and then again come down, again go up, again come down. It's not going to be even. And the whole scenario has changed. Business like hospitality, which is completely based on customer experience.
Correct.
People have to come there, experience, apart from the service and the taste and the ambience, they have to get that complete experience, and that's why they're paying premium. Now they do not want to come out of their house. How are we going to make that up? Because how do you see the future? That's the area which I want to focus.
Well, let's put it this way. I'm talking now for the Phuket area here. First of all, we have Phuket-wise historically 2 major nationalities as the guests. One is the Chinese, and the other one is the Russians.
Correct.
So the Chinese more or less been ready to go on tour again. That's what they told us already in May or beginning of May. Now the government has still not opened up. Now we can say, actually, thanks God, they have not opened it up too much. Otherwise, we would have a bigger challenge, maybe with the outbreaks we see again in certain countries. And also, there was some more breakouts in China. We remember Beijing. So this is the thing. So now, the Chinese are for Phuket the ones who fill the beds literally from we say May till October, because the Russians are predominantly traveling from November till April. So Russia at the moment, as well, as we all know, is number 3 on the hit list, right, on the corona infections, which is a negative record. I believe also to say that the Russian economy is also not the strongest now. The ruble has also dropped over the last 2 years. I'm here in Phuket, which actually was very much the Russian market stronghold here. So I believe there will be less travelers coming, because also the wholesaler, we know, they are not having yet the volume to send the flights over here, even if they could do. Because first of all, the situation in the country for the short term. Long term, I believe in November, December, we will, for the next high season, we will go up. For sure, we will go up. Here, I believe maybe we go to 60-70% of last year. So Chinese, I see there could be a changes in the behavior of traveling, and this is also statistically proven. Meaning they're going from the group tourism, they're going to individual OTA, either OTA or FIT travelers.
Okay.
Which actually the Chinese, if they're in this segment, actually they're very well spenders. I can tell you this one from when I was in the Maldives. We had also these groups coming in here, and they've been much less happy to open their wallets than the FIT travelers, so to speak. So in the long run, Thailand will be for sure bouncing back. Now, the Chinese will be one of the major guests in the future. Why I'm saying this one is that one because most of the airports, major airports in China, they're around in a 6 hours radius of flight. And I compare this a little bit with, for example, Dubai. Dubai has also a similar situation, especially from Europe. You know, from Germany, 6 hours.
Correct.
And 6 hour flight, you can still sit in one piece, in one turn. But if it's more than that, it becomes it's become claustrophobic, so to speak. You can see that one, especially. I mean, Scandinavians, they're still growing here in Thailand. Not in Phuket. They're mostly up either in Chiang Rai, Chiang Mai, Samui, or in Khao Lak, which is around here 1 hour north from Phuket here. So where there's literally communities there. I mean, if you go there, you see a lot of Scandinavian and also Germans go there. So they go more up to the Khao Lak area or Samui area, then they go to Phuket. So Germany is number 3 in the arrival lists. Number 1 is China, and number 2 is Russia. So, and Phuket is predominantly Chinese and Russian. So that makes it challenging. And the Scandinavians, they do vacations for up to 3 weeks in one thing. So because the long distance flight, which is 12 hours or even a little bit more. Now, Frankfurt to Phuket is exactly 12 hours and 30 minutes. And this is already a long flight. I mean, so to speak of. And then afterwards, you want to spend some time here. Interesting also, I was attending quite a lot of this from Thailand tourism webinars for several regions. Some of them most probably should be repeated because the situation has changed. I've been the one in China. China, they're very optimistic that China, Hong Kong, Thailand is still number 1 on their wish list to go. Scandinavians, they're happy to go, but it depends on how is the situation with safety in general, meaning during the corona pandemic. And also they're going more beach vacations. The new markets like Poland, Czech, this is the same. They're asking already for some certain goodies in the bookings so that they can, for them, makes it a little bit more attractive to come. Germans, they have a few different perspectives from there. It's mostly senior citizens, which are in the retirement age or shortly before retirement age. Then there's another thing which actually one way was not surprising to me is LGBT. This is very strong in Germany. So they're actually, Thailand is one of their top lists, so to speak of. Yes. They had also India. They've been talking about India, about the Indian weddings, just to keep you in the loop there. Mostly what they're thinking, they will continue, but they will continue in smaller size. And then there will be a lot of streaming for the people back home. So there will be the original party will be in the location in Thailand. And
Okay.
then there will be a venue back home where they will stream the entire event there. So this is the new
Style. Okay.
new strategy and plans what they're having for the Indian weddings. The Indian
Okay.
weddings still will go overseas. That's what they said.
Okay.
About the FIT travel to India, they're waiting until the direct flights can go up again, because there's now to Phuket, to Bangkok, and I don't know which other airport. There's direct flights from Mumbai, from New Delhi,
Hmm.
Chennai. There was one more city. Sorry, forgive me, I have forgotten that one. But
Okay.
they've been the highest increasing travelers to Thailand last year,
Okay.
Indian nationals.
Now, the other area which I want to focus is when we are looking at we saw the scene of all the different nationalities coming and why would they come and what the strategy we're going to have. But with a lot of new normal protocols in place, what kind of changes are you looking at from F&B perspective? Like before, we enjoyed sitting in a nice restaurant or an event happening in a nice banquet hall. That kind of things are not going to happen, at least for a few more years. I mean, what kind of setups are you planning for a restaurant? Because a lot of here, personally, what I've noticed, speaking with friends in Singapore or in India, Chennai, where I am from, takeaways and deliveries are the only one which are focused as of now, and sit-down restaurants are not functioning, and some places it's not allowed to open. So, what do you think as a future of that?
Well, takeaway was a big thing during the lockdown. So that was something which was, I mean, you have seen here they have this food delivery. What's called, there's two big main companies. One is called Grab and one is called Food Panda. I don't know if they have dependence in India, but you saw them during the lockdown, because we had like a lockdown. You could not go from one district to another one, but you could go, in the district, and you see them a lot. You saw them, they've been driving like bees around, like they're bringing home the nectar to the castle. So this is now a little bit less now. I believe this food delivery, the businesses need to overthink the strategy, because they have taken a huge percentage out of the thing. So I've heard from some that said, no, I do it by myself. I rather buy a motor scooter and I take one person which is anyway has no guests, so we can use them to do the delivery, because the thing is just unreasonably high. Now, sit-down restaurants, what they have done here, and what our hotels also, they have a corporate standard program, and is of course social distancing. They're cutting more or less the in half. Breakfast buffets is, well, for the 22 villa, it was before already a la carte, so it was not buffet. So that's really not changing. There's only the thing is changing, and the only thing what they're most probably looking to invest is a ordering system to make it a little bit more faster. They didn't have the digital pads, so they ordered that one. So this is now under discussion. So we need to. I support that one. That we need that one, because it will help the team in service much faster, to bring the orders to the kitchen, and then the dishes coming much faster to the guest itself. The other hotel, the 3-star hotel, there is still the main courses like the eggs and stuff like this. This will for sure be a la carte. Now the other thing what they're planning to do, because there's a buffet line, to have a chef standing there and help the guests to put it on the plates with cutleries, which is everybody individual. So thanks God we have quite a strong inventory on the
Cutleries and crockeries.
cutleries and stuff like this. So this is now the plan. So yes, the only thing what I'm seeing will be a challenge is that one, and as you know for yourself, we did this already in the restaurant where I was before. We put like a traffic light where we told the guest
Okay.
where is the time better to come because you find easier seating than the rush hour, so to speak of. So, and it worked very well, to be honestly. I was surprised that this. I took it from somewhere, so always, if you take from something from you just to improve it, and actually it was working very well. So this is the thing what they also do. So we have the occupancy will be for sure not 100%. So that will also help the thing that you can spread it out from 6 o'clock in the morning until 11. The opening hour most probably will be extended. So the rest is I see also in here now many hotels have the QR codes with the menus on it where you go with your mobile phone there and then afterwards you can call it up. This is not yet what they have now decided is that when they have the normal menu, but then afterwards they will be wiped off after every guest and pans and the same story, because I was a guinea pig for one of the photo sessions, so that's why I know what they will do. Room service will be more or less in the villas will be more or less like in a box. So where the guest, this will be delivered in front of the villa and then they can pick it up from there.
Okay.
Of course, depending afterwards how is the severity of the infection, so how many we have, how severe it still is. Then afterwards they still can, this depends then afterwards to set up in the room or not. So, but now it's in the boxes. That's planned now.
Okay. Now we come to the fantasy section, the surprise section, which I told you.
Oh, thank you very much.
If you had the chance, you have a magic wand and you can change 3 things in the world, what would you change? The 3 things.
That's, well, to change is, for me, number one is that one, is that the human race is more kind to each other. Yeah.
Super. Okay.
Because we don't need this kind of thing what's going on, because I'm a little bit old already, and when I'm seeing that one, what kind of unnecessary excitement is now in the air, I can somewhere not understand with the values I've been taught from my upbringing, from my parents.
Okay.
The second thing is, of course, is as I said from the beginning already, is to respect again more what the human or the individual is producing, especially in the food and beverage industry. What is the food? Because if you're grown up in on a farm like me, and my brother is still running a farm, and he told me, I get the same amount of the money or price equivalent what our father got 25 years ago. It breaks my heart, because everything is more expensive. It's everything. So to be a little bit more respectful and respect the people who produce our daily bread, so to speak of.
Okay.
And the third one, well, it would go on the things that we having continuous, that we first of all, that we using the technology for our positive side and not for the negative side, which in one way would consult to more peace.
Okay. Thank you so much. And the last section is basically you can thank people who have been in your life or who are now in your life, who has helped you to be who you are today.
Well, yeah, thank you, Harry, for this opportunity. I would say, first of all, of course, my parents, which both already passed away. always trusted in me, especially my mother, because she was always, she know that I'm a little bit sometimes cuckoo, and I have my own ways how to doing things, and you know that very well as well, Harry. Then I would say, well, as well, my two siblings, which always been with me, and also supported me all my sometimes challenging ideas what I had. My grandfather, because he from this one I learned, he was simple farmer his entire life, and he was very much engaged in politics. And I mean, he was one of them. What we're reading now, the memes. You know, if somebody is born in 1900 and then until 19, this one he would. My grandfather was one of this. I mean, he have seen number one as an Austrian. You know, we still had in those days we had the emperor Franz Josef. So he has seen the rise and the fall of the empire. He was going through the First World War. He has seen the recession. He has seen the Second World War. He has seen the development. He has seen in Austria the occupancy from the winner countries, which was Russia, UK, France, and US. He has seen the freedom that we get, the independence, the independence and from Austria, and then in his older age, with 62, he reached the seat of the Austrian Parliament. So when you can see from a person which comes from very humble beginning, you can reach a high office in the government and can make some changes for people. This is always what I hear from him, and I still can remember his speech when he has his 90th birthday. He said, "You know, you should never give up on people. Sometimes if they don't follow you, let them go, but they will come back to you anyway again to listen to your advice." So this is what I'm trying to follow so much as I can. Well, of course, also, you know, doing my education, meaning the teachers, with some of them, you know, when I'm back in Austria, I meet them, and then they look at me and say, "Wow, you know, great job what you have done." Then my first chef, which had a lot of hard time to teach me something. And then everybody along, you know, they wrote the executive chefs or colleagues which work with me. I have three actually. One the United States, who helped me to get in touch with Marriott again, to start a 10-year tenure with Marriott. There I had in Frankfurt a person which I learned technically a lot, even when I was already in a junior sous chef and sous chef stage, which also typical German, but one way it worked. So sometimes you don't need to ask the way, so you just need to see how it goes.
Okay.
And then several general manager which give me good advice in the past. And to make me do that what I am today. Now I have to say also do my managing director, which has given me a lot of trust in this what I'm doing now, because as I said, you know, I have in this role, I can be honest, you know, my goal was always to be F&B director. That was my goal. And then all of a sudden, when I had to run the hotel in the Maldives, I said, "Oops, there's something else behind it." So actually, I've been over my goal. I overshoot it already, but I don't see it as overshooting, because you learn every day, and you learn something new. And especially in these times, Harry, you learn daily basis even more, and you need to differentiate between the reality and the fiction.
True. Because this COVID thing has made a lot of us think, learn a lot of new things, adapt to certain things which we wouldn't have done in a normal scenario, helped a lot of people to connect across the borders. It in fact made the whole world short.
Correct.
It's a different experience to all together, and I feel rather than seeing on the other side, which is and then not so good, it's important that at this point we focus on what is helping us to move ahead, and keeping positive state of mind actually help us to actually come up with at least certain solutions which is required, because more on frustration, it doesn't help. This is what I saw with the businesses here as well.
Let's face it like this way.
Yeah.
Many souls been affected to this corona epidemic.
Correct.
Now, as I said, my grandfather also went to the Spanish flu. He never talked about this, and I cannot recall that he talked about that things. I don't know, was it not that severe in the region where I come from? But he never talked about it. But he would be the best person to ask what happened there in 1918. So, unfortunately, we don't have any
documents
from a live witness. And there's not many individuals alive today who can tell us about it, what's happened. So, and we've seen many warnings from what's happened there in 1918. And the United States, for example, they've been warned very strongly. I don't know if you know that one. There was a parade in Boston, and they did the parade, and then afterwards, the next day, the next week, they had thousands of deaths. And now we have the same again, except same. We have exactly the same again. So, history repeats itself. What we say is sometimes not to the best. Now, what I wanted to say is that when there's many individuals which I call victim from this one, because they've been coming to this situation, they've been out of job and have nothing. Yeah. So, so to speak of, I feel for them. Now, said that one, life needs to go on. Right? So it's now our role to assist them where we can. We cannot give everybody, I don't know, an amount of money because we don't have it ourselves, right?
Understand.
But we can help them for the future to be prepared better. And that's why, as I said, for me, all these webinars, was for me very, very intellectual supportive, because I learned so many things in this time. Before you don't even take time, you say, hey, I'm so busy, I cannot do it. So, but on the other hand, it also sometimes gets too much already on that one. And some, they're going to, cookie cutter style. So there's, there's always something. And I said, I have now watched several webinars which been from the tourism boards. The most impressive personally I watched was the one from the tourism board of Hong Kong. It was very well presented. I've been had one which was the South Asia Pacific, which was also very interesting. Especially they've been dealing with Southern Hemisphere, Australia, New Zealand, because somewhere you need to gauge where because in the industry where we are, the guests coming from everywhere, because we have airplanes. Yeah. So in a few hours they're here from Singapore, or they're from Europe, or from from Latin America, whatever. So this is somewhere is important to catch the information where you can. Can you catch everything? Impossible, because then afterwards you would not sleep, and you would be overloaded. But then afterwards, the differentiate between the fake news, which is useful. This is very thin ice in our days now, and this is something which whom we should call the government. No, we cannot, but we need to use our own common sense, which news we can trust and which one not.
Thank you so much. We covered quite a lot from the professional side, from your personal side, from education to your experience and interactions with the people and people who have mentored you. Definitely. More openly sharing all different slices of your life was amazing, and thank you so much for that. And I feel like there should be another session probably to talk about the professional side, and especially the culinary side, and I know the passion you have towards that.
I forgot something.
Seeing firsthand, Yes, please
forgot.
tell me.
You know, when you asked me to whom I want to thank, I was so thank my wife and my daughter. I forgot them.
Yes,
I
okay,
got so
please tell me.
excited talking to, I forgot them. So I will
Please tell
send
me.
link, because otherwise my daughter will say, huh, why you not mention it? Okay, now anyway, so yeah, great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great opportunity
Thank you
from
so much.
around, because you know, was watching most of the times now all of the webinars and the forums. So now I'm active in one inside there. I thank you very much
Good.
for the opportunity.
Welcome.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you so much, and definitely we'll schedule another session, probably based on your schedule. We'll check with you, and then we'll elaborate on the culinary part of it, because I have seen it firsthand in Kuwait working with you. So hopefully we'll have another session.
Some
Thank
time
you so
ago.
much.
You're most welcome. See you.
Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Today we had an elaborate session with Mr. Josef Umenberger. I've worked with quite a lot of chefs, and he is always close to, when I come to when I focus on certain things, like the style, or either management, or when it comes to interpersonal, or he had his own style, and it actually stands out. So that's the reason he was on our show. And as you see, he has a lot to share, and this one session is not enough. Most of the people who are coming as guests for us, they have quite a bit of spectrum to share. So hopefully we'll be scheduling another session based on their schedule, and keep supporting. Thanks for your love.